Good morning.
Morning.
And welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. I'm Laura McClellan, one of the facilitators, as well as Mary Johnson, who just walked in the door, Jackie Edward Walton, Jackie, raise your hand, Winston Robinson, Natalie McGarrett, Steve Johnson, and Sarita Ford. Today, our speaker is Mr. Anthony Shelborne, the Chief Financial Officer and Vice President of Business Development of the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority. Before we get started, we always like to start off with a word of prayer. Mr. Sarita will lead us in a word of prayer.
Good morning. Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for our lives, for our health, and for our strengths. We're thankful to see another Valentine's Day. We're especially happy, God, for our Air Force. Continue to bless our Tuesday morning forum. Continue to bless the unity among us. Remember our children everywhere, all the time. Continue to bless our country, our state, our county, our city, our neighborhoods, and our homes. Let us say together, amen.
Amen.
Just want to remind you that the forum is live streamed as well as on Facebook Live. Also can be viewed on our website. So anything you say is taped and kept on file in our archives by Steve, of course. We also have implemented a time of silence for Tuesday Forum where you will silence your phone. If your phone is on, please silence it. Thank you. Now, we do like to recognize people that are here for the first time and like to share with you the fact that we never know who's going to attend our Tuesday Forum. We send the information out to numerous people in our community, all over, as a matter of fact. But we never know who's going to be here. But people do come in and they leave respectfully. So you might see people coming in. And of course, most of you are taking seats in the back, so they have to come to the front so you'll see those that are coming. But we'd like for you to introduce yourselves. And if you are a business owner or if you're associated with an organization, just share the name of that business as well as the organization you're associated with. So if you're here for the first time, we ask you to please stand and introduce yourself.
Morning. My name is Deborah Rodno, and I'm with the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, here supporting the stand to Shelborne.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Hilsey. I'm also here with the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority. Good morning, Patty Hunter, along with the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority.
Randy Salvatore, and I'm here. I've done work with the Brandon Lofton campaign, and I have my own business as well as staff.
Great. Well,
Hi, Jeff Dort. I'm with CRBA with Sporting Anthony as well.
I'm Eric Carter. I'm also with Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority.
George Rodriguez with the CRBA as well.
Kevin Thomas, also with CRBA.
all right, CRBAs, what are representing? Do we have a few rules about the way we conduct business here at the Tuesday Morning Forum? We are the facilitators, and I'm introducing our facilitators, but we facilitate the question and answering process. And even you guys that may have a burning question that you want us to know that we're not asking, feel free to ask the question. But we have Anthony, if you don't mind me calling you Anthony.
Yes.
Will do his presentation. After his presentation, we recognize you by a show of hands. We'll raise your hands, and we take your name, and we call on you from up here. And we ask you to no commentary, no debate. We would ask you to just ask your question in a minute or less, and we would allow the presenter to answer your question. One question at a time. And if you have another question, just raise your hand again, and we'll recognize you and come back to the question. Jackie's hands is up first. So she will get the first question. Is that right, Jackie? Okay, and we have a timekeeper, Natalie. Just look around to see Natalie, and if you're over your time in your question, she will let you know that. So please respect her signals. Natalie. And if we have time after the end of the presentation and the question and answer session, we do take announcements. However, if you don't have time for the announcements, you can always send them to the website of Steve, and he will post them on our website. And I encourage you to go to our website, Sarah C's Tuesday Forum, and review some of our speakers that we've had in the past, particularly our entrepreneurs, because that's what Anthony and I talked about, was entrepreneurs in the city of Charlotte, particularly of the American community. It's being a part of this, and we're going to encourage them to come and visit the site as he does his presentation today about the importance of what the city of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County is doing for entrepreneurs, or have available for entrepreneurs. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Anthony again and ask him to share a little bit about Anthony and then talk about the job and the specifications of that. Okay, and we do have. Okay, we do have some snacks in the back. Feel free to go and we have some snacks, some apples and some candy and some juices back there. Feel free to partake. And we thank you all for bringing them. So thanks again, and Anthony is on you now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McCletty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for having and welcoming my colleagues and me. My name is Anthony Shelborne, as Ms. McCletty said. I'm the Chief Financial Officer and VP of Business Development for the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, or CRVA. So when I initially reached out to the Tuesday Forum, I initially only wanted to have a link on your website to our website to talk about and show some of the procurement opportunities. And I wanted to have a way of announcing some of those procurement opportunities. But Ms. McCletty reached out to me just over a month ago and said, hey, we're actually inviting you to come and speak and come tell us about yourself, tell us about the CRVA and what you're, why you want to speak to us. So I'm glad to have this opportunity. I know about the history of the Tuesday Forum. I know about your deep roots in the community and the impact that you've had on the community. I respect that, and I'm very honored to be here. So thank you very much for having me. In addition to being the CFO, I am one of several persons working to develop, strengthen, and grow minority and women-owned businesses and the relationships we have with them. We're seeking those businesses for potential contracts, for goods and services that we procure. But before I get into our efforts in that area, I want to tell you a little bit about the CRVA so you'll understand what we do and what we do for the region and what we do for the city. According to a study of the economic impact on travel on North Carolina counties prepared by Tourism Economics, 1 in 9 people in the Charlotte region have jobs in the hospitality and tourism industry. That translates to 139,000 jobs. And that makes the region and hospitality the 4th largest employment sector. So attracting millions of visitors to Charlotte and having a healthy tourism industry for those who experience Charlotte through travel is important to all communities and neighborhoods. The benefits of a strong visitor economy reach across the community, including employment opportunities, local business support, visitor spending, and a higher quality of life for residents. So who are we? As a trusted leader in Charlotte's visitor economy, the CRVA works to attract visitors and help them have excellent experiences as they visit our region. Mindful of our role to stimulate hotel bookings that generate visitor spending, we enhance the perception of Charlotte and support hospitality businesses. So through our thoughtful marketing, we tell the story of Charlotte. We influence perceptions and ultimately work to capture the hearts and attention of visitors. Our vision is that Charlotte will be recognized as the most sought-after city in the Southeast, known for its energy, its people, and captivating experiences. Through leadership in destination development, marketing, and venue management expertise, the CRVA leads efforts to maximize the region's economic potential through visitor spending and creating opportunities for all. So how do we do this? How do we impact the region's visitor economy? Our marketing and communication efforts thrive on evidence-based decision-making. So we use our sales and marketing efforts to try to attract people here to this region, whether it's large groups or whether it's individuals. So we have 4 key brand themes: culinary, arts and culture, diversity and inclusion, and recreation and adventure, outdoor recreation and adventure. These themes inspire prospective travelers based on the way they consume media to visit and experience all that the Queen City has to offer. With our annual marketing perception research, we know that 66% of the individuals living in our target markets are familiar with our advertising. Now, we have a pretty large target market, a lot of cities, a lot of regions. So it's a total of 10.8 million people in our target market. And so 66% of that 10.8 million, or about 7.1 million, have recall and can identify our ads. We know that our advertising is enhancing perceptions. So we measure perception based on those 4 key brand themes that I just mentioned, and found that a 67% increase in the perception of those 4 key branding themes. And most importantly, 64% of the people are most likely to book an overnight trip, whether to visit friends, relatives, or to see our sites and other tourism things uptown and throughout the region. Every 2 years, the CRVA engages a return on investment study with Longwoods International, and they are a respected leader in destination market research. We believe that it's crucial to invest in this type of study because we want to be sure that we're getting the best bang for the buck and to demonstrate that our marketing is bringing back and have an impact on the community. So this study shows that for every dollar we spend, it results in $71 in spending by visitors and a $4 incremental tax impact. So we believe that's a really good return on an investment, $1 for $71. We also execute multicultural marketing all year, and we pride ourselves on lifting the voices that unite our visitors and residents. The CRVA is committed to being representative of the many faces that shape Charlotte's character and strengthen its unity. We do it for the culture, to celebrate people of many different cultures, communities, gender, ethnic groups, races. We want to be sure that we're properly trying to help shape the past, present, and future. And we do this on our website all year long, not just during the month of February. Multicultural marketing. We also highlight Black business owners. In the center of this frame is Chef Gregory Collier, co-owner, along with his wife Sabrina, of the restaurant Leah and Louise. He won our most prestigious prize and award in 2022. The Colliers have garnered significant positive and local and national attention for the Charlotte region through their restaurant and their work. And they've also been featured in the New York Times. This February, as the nation celebrates Black History Month and the impact of Black Americans on this country, we also have 4 sections that you see on the slide in front of you. Murals that honor Black history in Charlotte, 15 Black movers and shakers who've touched our city, Black-owned restaurants in Charlotte, and places to learn Black history. Now, these are some of the few resources that are available. I know many of the people in this room and many who may be watching at home have probably forgotten more about Black history in Charlotte than I'll ever learn. I relocated here in 2020, so I'm still learning the Charlotte region and the impact and the Black history of this city. So I found these resources pretty helpful because I'm still learning. And I think that we're very happy to be able to do this year round, but we're featuring these this month in particular. The second way the CRVA impacts the region's visitors' economy is through our managed venues. Now, many of you may know these venues. Almost everyone knows the Convention Center, but you may not know that we operate the Convention Center. So we operate the Convention Center, Bojangles Coliseum, Ovens Auditorium. We also operate Visit Charlotte, and all of those who visit visitor info booths that you see along the street or at the airport. And we operate the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and we support the Spectrum Center. We host many groups at the Convention Center. We started off with a busy 2023. We had thousands of people here attending the American Football Coaches Association. Then the Spirit of Hope National Championship cheerleading event was also in the month of January. We had the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Breakfast, which had many city officials and CRVA board members in attendance. And in fact, one of our board members is here today, Mr. Mike Evans. Thank you very much, Mike, for coming by. With the Convention Center, we have really large events and had some in 2022 with over 10,000 attendees. And the recent expansion of the Convention Center has enabled us to attract larger groups. So now those larger groups that require more breakout spaces will, we can layer 2 medium-sized events at the same time. So that allows us to maximize the building's use and add to the hotel and restaurant impact in the city and the surrounding areas. In July of 2022, the Convention Center welcomed the Qs back to the Queen City for the Omega Psi Phi 83rd Grand Conclave. So thousands of Qs dressed in their purple and gold visited Charlotte for the fraternity's first in-person international meeting since 2018. The Omega celebrated their deep history and excitement, and we worked hard to make them feel welcome. Now, I personally am an alpha, so I'm a little envious. But I'm hoping one day I can celebrate my fraternity's national convention here, like we did for the AKAs at the Convention Center in 2014. All right. Well, that's pretty good because that was still the record when we did that plated event for the AKAs. It was the largest plated event for us in history. So I hope you had a great time. Great. For the Bowplex, we host a wide variety of events like Disney on Ice, Frozen, and Encanto, which played there recently, to comedy shows like Chris Rock and Cat Williams, to record-breaking shows like Broadway shows like Wicked, to concerts, performances, and checkers hockey games. The Bowplex remains a vital component of the economic health of East Charlotte. The energy, vibrancy, and the impact of these venues and the impact they create for the region is something we're proud of because our team members make it happen. We don't contract a lot of people out to come in and run these venues. We hire people who do it. Our full-timers and our part-timers do all of this work. Following a variety of events last fall, the inaugural Jumpman Invitational took place at the Spectrum Center to close out 2022. It took place in December. The CRVA was proud to partner with the Charlotte Sports Foundation and support the event as a sponsor, promoting the Queen City through courtside signage and through television spots. These and other strategic events continue to raise our profile and enhance perception of Charlotte. The CRVA works closely with Hornet Sports Entertainment to provide best-in-class guest experiences and back-of-house services, often working really hard to make quick transitions so they could have a concert that ends one night and the move out is at 1 or 2 in the morning. And then our employees have to work really hard to turn that venue over to make it available for a basketball game, which could be taking place the next day. So our staff members do that. So they make those quick transitions between basketball concerts and other events. And so those important partnerships, like with Hornet Sports and Entertainment, are very important to support the visitor economy. The NASCAR Hall of Fame is an interactive entertainment attraction honoring NASCAR's evolving history, celebrated heritage, and family-oriented traditions. The venue was designed to educate race fans and non-race fans alike. It includes ever-changing artifacts and hands-on exhibits, and includes the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Honor, and the iconic Glory Road of Cars, which, as you see in that picture, the sweeping iconic Glory Road in front of glass frame, in front of the glass window wall. As shown on this slide, We also host special events and receptions at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, like TD Jakes Ministries, who we hosted last year as part of their larger event at the Convention Center. We also operate the NASCAR Hall of Fame Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is providing opportunities for economically challenged students and their families, and they give them access to learning opportunities. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Foundation, and I'm very proud of our work. This education program supports about 16,000 young students annually. We cover 64 counties. We have students from 64 counties in North and South Carolina and 15 other states. And let me tell you, when we walk through to visit the students during some of the summer programs, I could tell you a lot of stories about how their faces light up and the impact this has for them and their families, because they may not have the opportunity to do any other type of summer program. And so we are really happy with this work. Utilizing real applications from NASCAR, our education teams build career exploration and exposure experiences, and we base it on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So all these things are about the impact of not only sales and marketing, but our venue management for the CRVA. So I want to spend a little time talking about what we do so you'll know, kind of about us and some of the things that we try to do for the region. Now let me get to the specifics of the potential procurement opportunities. As I said earlier, I'm one of several people working to try to expand our supplier diversity. We've had an MWBE program for a long time, minority, women-owned businesses, enterprises, and we want to try to expand that outreach. So we're committed to fair and equitable business practices, and we're continuously trying to expand the supply chain. So strengthening the community's economic position and vitality provides the opportunity for all people in the region. It isn't merely the right thing to do, but it's a good business practice. We've been operating an MWBE program for a long time. I've only been here 2 years. Jeff, my colleague here, Jeff Dorr, has been working on the program. He's one of our procurement persons, in fact, our procurement manager for most of our procurements. He's been working on it for more than 10 years, and people worked on it prior to him. So what we're trying to do now is trying to build on that foundation and now try to outreach into the community and have conversations like this one. We have relationships with these entities, government agencies, and organizations, and I'll highlight just a few. The Charlotte Business Inclusion and Mecklenburg County Business Diversity and Inclusion offices have both been very helpful to us over the past few years. Jeff and I participated in several panels in 2022, and we're reaching out into the community in several ways. We participated in several forums, including Commissioner Vilma Leake's Small Business Consortium, which I spoke on last May, Mecklenburg County's Business Launchpad Cohort Project, and Charlotte's AMP-UP program. We're members of the Carolinas Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council, and we've shared several RFPs with them, and we've attended several sessions with them. We met with the Carolina Small Business Development Fund and other organizations who want to participate with us when we hold meetings and educate people about potential opportunities. So we know, there are many barriers to business for small business owners, for minority and women-owned businesses. And one of those barriers is access to capital. So that's one of the reasons we met with the Small Business Development Fund, because we, the CRVA, can't help with that access to capital piece. But with resources with Mecklenburg County, with the city, and with nonprofits like the Small Business Development Fund, if we can include them and participate with them when we have these events, our events for vendors, then small vendors can learn about these types of opportunities in order to find funding and that access to capital. We want to include a wide variety of diverse suppliers in our search. Now, that's not to say that anyone who's a diverse supplier will get the business, but if you're not at the table, you won't even have the opportunity if you don't know about those various opportunities that we have, and you can't even be considered. So we're having conversations like this. So we're trying to cast a wider net and seek businesses that can help deliver the services we provide in order to run all of the venues I've spoken about today and all the departments we operate. Our focus is leading and advancing the current MWBE program. So we try to find businesses, get them into our database, so that our managers have another resource for specific services. And the best way to do this is through outreach. So we have a database with about 300 members. We also utilize the city's database. The city has a database of MWSBEs. And we're also putting a link. Jeff is working with our communications team to get a link on our website so that people can enter their own information. That way it's easier for them to find it. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today, is to perhaps give information to the Tuesday Forum on a regular basis so people can come here and find information about our opportunities. 3 months ago, we held a large MWBE forum. It wasn't the first that we had, but it was the first since the pandemic. We had 2 panels. The first was made up of MWBE businesses currently working with CRVA. They shared their insights and experiences, and they discussed how they obtained their contracts. If you look at this slide and you look in the lower right, you see a gentleman holding a microphone. His name is Willie Campbell. He's the owner of the Turf Commander, a minority-owned business. Now, this is a success story. The company now provides landscape services at several of our venues, but it didn't start out that way. He first started at the Spectrum Center, and he won the business. He had a proposal that was thorough. He answered all of the questions. He was timely in his response and his submissions. And once he won the contract with the Spectrum Center, he started providing landscape services there. He began to build a relationship. He delivered the services. He said he would do it. He did what he said he would do. He did it on time. He did it within budget. And that was very important. And so as he built the relationship with the people there at Spectrum Center, our colleagues there, then he was able to learn, once we had other opportunities at some of the other venues, he won business at some of the other venues. To the right of Willie in this photo is Carol Johnson. She and her husband Greg are co-owners of an advertising company called Orbital Socket. To Willie's left in the picture is Mark Sutton, who works for a minority-owned company called Leap Touch, and they do office cleaning services. The second panel during our forum consisted of CRVA directors and managers discussing how they seek vendors and develop vendor relationships. The event was very well attended, and almost all of the attendees represented new contacts for the CRVA. So the objective was to provide the vendors with a sense of contracting opportunities at the CRVA and to help them understand our procurement process. Now, I won't go into those details, but I will talk a little bit about some of the specifics of what we're seeking. At the end, we had a network session that allowed vendors to meet face-to-face with those CRVA managers, directors, and a lot of others in order to have a discussion about our potential future needs. So our focus is building on a good foundation and advancing the current MWBE program. So we have lots of opportunities, and they're listed here, not in order of importance, but in alphabetical order, simply. Building equipment, construction-related needs, repair and maintenance, electrical supplies, capital projects. We run a lot of our own capital projects for some of the venues. That includes floor epoxy work, carpet work, installation of other large construction-related projects, office supplies, facility services, cleaning supplies, cleaning equipment, specialty food items. We do have an F&B. We have staff who are food and beverage in-house, but there are specialty food items that we don't make and prepare that we sometimes purchase from others. So if you know someone who has, they prepare cakes or they prepare smaller, different items that we may not prepare, then we could have a conversation with those individuals as well. So if you know of a company, small or large, that has any products or services that fall within these categories, or if you're not sure which categories the companies that you may have in mind fall within, let us know. So don't worry if you didn't write notes to get the name of all of these different companies. We brought a document with us. We brought several copies, and Jeff has a stack there at his table. And the document is called How to Do Business with the CRVA. And we list all of the potential categories where we're seeking help and we're seeking, the businesses who provide goods and services. And we also give information about how to do business with us and how to go about it. We encourage companies to get MWSB certified with the city of Mecklenburg County because they provide great resources and opportunity, but we don't require that. We ask that you self-identify and self-certify that the business is at least 51% minority or woman-owned. But we do have one big requirement, and that requirement is that the business is in good standing with the North Carolina Secretary of State. Finally, keep in mind that we are a quasi-government entity, and no one individual at the CRVA makes contracting decisions. We have a process that takes time and has many levels of review and approval. So many, businesses that we work with, they have the latitude to make those decisions and just hire someone when they meet them and they like them. And we don't have that latitude, but we do have a process that moves fairly quickly in order to secure new business. So we work to achieve the work we achieve and we hope that we achieve will enrich the lives of visitors and residents and many of the vendors who work with us. The vendors that were at the forum, as well as others, have spoke to us about the ways that our success overall at CRVA has directly and positively impacted their business. We're continuing to improve, and we're seeking ways to improve. So as you saw today, the CRVA operates multiple venues. They're all staff operated, full-time and part-timers, and we need goods and services to operate to supplement that work. So thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you for hosting us, and I'll gladly take a few questions.
Thank you so much. Let's give it a hand. Okay, Jackie, I think that the first question.
Thanks so much for coming, Anthony. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and also a third of the folk in here, if they have particular areas, and we find out what those particular areas are?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Again, I've been here in the Charlotte region for less than 3 years. I relocated here from the Washington, D.C. area, my wife and I, and I've been in finance for a long time. My last job, I worked for a pension fund that served firefighters, police, and teachers. So I was a CFO there as well. So I relocated here after seeing this opportunity with the CRVA, and I've enjoyed learning Charlotte and getting to know the people here in Charlotte. I love restaurants. We love restaurants. And so any restaurant suggestions, I'm always looking for those. And my colleagues are members of the various teams at the CRVA. Several of them are members of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. We have had that committee long before George Floyd was killed, just to go on the record about that. We have been doing that for a long time, and several of the members are joining us from that. Kevin is our director. Wave your hand there, Kevin. So I'd like to introduce Kevin Thomas, and my other colleagues work in various departments. So we have people from various programs and departments. We have George from our IT department. He worked with me on the business support services team. Raise your hand there, George. We have Patty Hunter. Patty Hunter she runs our Partners in Tourism program. And it's an excellent program that some of the businesses can become members and have special opportunities and special networking opportunities with the partners. Alex works with, raise your hand there, Alex. Thank you for coming. She worked with Patty. And then we have Deborah Rhino is she is the expert related to customer experience. And so she helps us by, we do surveys, for example, at the end of all of our events. And Eric in the corner is our research king. And so I told you earlier that we're research-based and we like to rely on hard data. So Eric runs our business analytics and research. And so when we do things like customer surveys, and we develop a net promoter score, we determine how customers interact and how they feel about the experience they had at one of our venues. And Deborah is one of the persons that helps us improve that customer experience. So those are the people, I talked about Jeff already, who are here today with me.
Thank you. Winston.
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. It was great. I have a two-part question.
Yes.
One is, can you help me score Beyonce tickets?
No, I cannot. But no offense, I can't even score Beyonce tickets.
Sad news for my wife. Okay. Secondly, as you mentioned in your presentation, the Colliers and you coming from DC, the Colliers have Bay Haven Food and Wine Festival, and there are a lot of kind of organic community festivals. I wanted to know if there was a nurturing system of alignment with CRVA and some of these smaller festivals to kind of help them develop and blossom into something bigger. You coming from DC, I'm sure you're familiar with Broccoli City Fest and 8th Street Festival and a Million Community Festival that have large numbers. Even South by Southwest in Texas that are allowed to kind of be nurtured by organizations like CRVA. And I wanted to know if Charlotte has a system that will kind of bring these smaller community festivals along to match the business model eventually with culture of heads and beds, creating, a pathway or a pipeline to grow.
Thank you very much for that question. I can tell you that I can't say that we have a system, a pipeline specifically for those festivals, but we do feature them. We have a on our website and on charlottesgotalot.com. We have a deep dive for a lot of different restaurants and festivals and events for all cultures. And we do feature some of the restaurants, not only the restaurant that I mentioned, but other Black-owned restaurants, artists, different cultures, different vendors, different ethnic groups and races. And so we have those features on our website, and we'll do a deep dive, not only during the month of February, but at other times of the year. But I can't say that we have a specific system that features just those festivals. But I can take that question back to our marketing and communications team, and I can follow up with you on that.
Okay, I have a question. Do you all have any type of program where you can mentor high school students through the CRAB? Do you work with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools or any other schools at all to start working with the kids so they can see how you're operating and look at opportunities for them to get jobs or create businesses?
No, ma'am. We don't work directly with the school system. We have a relationship with some of the other, like Johnson C. Smith. We are trying to develop a relationship with them, and we also we don't have a specific mentorship program, but we have other opportunities that sometimes we have interns. I'm not sure if we'll run an internship program this year because after the pandemic, we didn't, get that going as far as having someone in and having people in the office. But we will look into that because that's one of the things that is important is to try to be sure we're reaching out into the community in different ways. But we don't have a specific relationship with the school system.
Jackie.
Yeah. Anthony, going back to my question before, can you give us a little bit about yourself 20, 30, 40 years ago? And also, do you have opportunities for persons in professional service?
For, what was the last part, Jackie? I'm sorry.
Opportunities for persons who may provide professional service.
Oh, okay, professional services. So Anthony, 20, 30 years ago, I grew up in Alabama. I grew up with my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother. So I was born in New York, near Talladega, Alabama, about 40 minutes from Birmingham. So I was born in New York, but I was raised by my grandparents there. And that's, where I spent my formative years and learned about a lot of things in life. So growing up in Alabama, as you can imagine, growing up in the 70s, was very different than growing up now. I then went on to school. Education was strongly encouraged in my household by my grandparents. I was the first male to finish college. I was the oldest grandchild, and I was the first male to finish college. Not the first to go, but the first to finish. And then I went to I went to Talladega College for undergrad in HBCU, pledged Alpha, as I referred to just now. And then I went to graduate school at the University of Chicago and began my career in Illinois. I lived in a lot of different cities and had many different experiences in many different communities. And so some of those experiences, both personally and professionally, have helped shape my views. And that's why this work is important to me and why the work that we're trying to do related to helping minority and women-owned businesses is important to me. And so when I was hired to be the CFO and VP of Business Development. And then, work on this became something that I wanted to do after I was already at the CRBA. So that's a little bit about Anthony, and hopefully that answered your question.
Assistant.
Morning.
Morning.
During your presentation, I only heard you focus on tourism and visitor employment. So you're not involved with other corporate recruiting, bringing variety of other type of jobs, hopefully?
No, sir. That's not our purview. There is a Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, and their focus is primarily for corporate and bringing businesses to the region.
So there are two different entities?
Two different entities, yes, sir. The two different entities. So we are the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, and we concentrate on large group businesses, like the conferences and conventions I mentioned earlier and alluded to earlier, and individual visitors to try to bring them to the region so that they can, go to restaurants, spend money, book hotel rooms, et cetera. And then the people who work in those hotels, who work in those restaurants, who work for us. I mean, we have job opportunities to do the work that I've been talking about. We have just under 300 full-time employees, and we have several hundred part-timers, and that number expands and contracts depending on the types of groups we have. We have about 19 jobs that I saw posted by our HR team just at the venues that I mentioned, at Convention Center, Bowplex. So we have opportunities as far as jobs, but we don't recruit corporate entities to the region. We try to bring people and groups to the region.
Okay, Mary.
Excuse me. I belong to an organization, and we're actually having a convention in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
We've already submitted our RFP, working with Helms Briscoe. You probably know about Helms Briscoe.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay. Anyway, they have submitted the RFP to you, and I have received, not to you personally, but to the CRBA. And I have actually received a confirmation that you all have received it. Okay. And so we won't be here until the fall of 2024. And of course, when she submitted it to the hotels, we've heard back from the hotels, and we're in negotiation with the hotels. But I want to know, she submitted it to your organization, and I did get a receipt from you all. But what do you do? I mean, what's the purpose of?
Now, did you submit it for rooms to have like meeting rooms? I would just want to understand so I can be sure I can respond correctly.
Well, she submitted the RFP to the hotels, I think about 10 or 12 hotels, and we've heard back from them. And we have to, we're on the next steps there. But she also submitted it to you, to the CRBA.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, what is it that you do to support our convention that we're having?
Well, so I can't speak to your specific
Right.
entity because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, generally speaking, when a group wants to do business, we have part of the sales team. They contact different groups, associations, different. I guess we do corporate some corporate entities, like the Coaches Association I mentioned earlier. It's one of the associations we work with. So we seek business to come in, and then those businesses get meeting rooms. I used to work for an association, so I can talk about it from that side as well. So for those groups, they usually need hotel rooms and blocks of hotel rooms, and you can usually get a rate, a certain rate from those hotels. And then for depending on the size of the event, they need meeting space as well. And so in the convention center, it's a city-owned building, but we operate it. And so part of our operating revenues is related to what groups pay when they come in and pay for the meeting rooms, and they pay for food and beverage. So if you need, lunch served, if they need, like a little happy hour type thing. So our staff would provide that food and beverage and support that effort for however number of days or how many days or of your event. So that's in general what we do.
Okay. Okay, well, our group will not be at the convention center.
Okay.
So we're going to do everything at the hotel.
At a hotel, okay. So if you submitted something to us, I'm not quite sure. So I could talk to you after this to find out.
Just for FYI, maybe.
Okay.
But I know that she did submit it to your CRBA, and you all did respond.
Okay.
Just
So
saying what you do. And so I just didn't know if you all had any recommendations. We can talk after.
okay, I can speak to you afterwards and get some more details. I mean, we partner with the hotels, and some of the some individuals who are connected to the hotel industry are on our board. So we don't work directly with them per se as far as when companies book, especially if you're going to be at the hotel. But thank you for sending the information to us, and I'll talk to you more after this.
Okay, I have a question. Jackie had asked you about how do you work with professional services?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, Jackie. That's right.
Services. And I guess Jeff has to be in on that since he's the pyramid man. So, but can you share that with us?
Yes. So we have a process in which we, whenever we're seeking either consulting or professional services, we have a need. And so one of the managers will have a need for some type of services. Let's say it's for training for IT. So if we have computer training, and so then the managers will contact Jeff and they will say, for example, George did this the other day. He'll have a conversation. He says, well, we need support to, do training for our computer system or cyber training or something like that. So then they'll reach out to Jeff and say, hey, do we have anybody in our database that, I would like to consider to provide these services? And then we will reach out to them and tell them about the services that we're seeking. So then those services are evaluated and the companies are evaluated. And so one of the things that we're doing and what I'm doing here today is trying to be sure that we are able to find a lot of people and be sure that we know who's out there so that we can know who to consider for these professional services. So we evaluate them as far as the work they do to be sure that the work they do aligns with our mission and the services that we need, and that the services are, that they're of course qualified, and that we can go through the process and consider them along with others.
Yeah, just can you kind of paraphrase CRVA's, I guess, business model and just kind of make it understandable for us? Give us context.
Sure. So to paraphrase, we do a lot of things for the region. We have marketing. We produce the official city guide for the city of Charlotte. And so to paraphrase and bring it all and boil it all down, we attempt to bring people to Charlotte so that they spend money on businesses. We run the convention center and other large venues, Bojangles, Coliseum, etc., so that when we host large groups, people spend money there as well. So we hire lots of people to do this work. So we're always seeking good people as far as staff. And we also want businesses to help us provide these services, professional services, and some of the services that I listed when I gave my presentation. So our business model is that we are connected to the city, but we're not part of the general fund. We don't get appropriated money that way. So we have external support largely from some of those tax revenues for a hotel, for example. And then we have operating revenues as half of our revenue base. And those are the revenues we generate from people attending things, whether it's a business booking business at the convention center, or whether it's people attending a show at Bojangles Coliseum. So that's what we do, and we're seeking, we're just trying to find businesses that help us operate and help us do the things that we do. Does that help, Winston?
Carrie,
Yes, you kind of are touching on that a little bit. My question is about, you said you are a quasi-governmental organization.
Mm-hmm.
So can you maybe expand on that a little more? I'm not sure I understand that fully.
So what that means is that we're not a regular city agency. So we have a board. We don't have. We're connected to the city of Charlotte. We have a board of trustees, and we have a CEO that's hired by the board of trustees. And some of our board members are appointed by the city council. Some board members are appointed by the mayor. And so we're a separate authority in that way because we were set up separately. Does that help?
So your relationship with the city then was through some tax support and the appointments by elected officials?
Yes. Yes, we have appointees that are, some of our board members are appointed by city council and appointed by the mayor. And the tax revenues are simply part of what we do get external support that comes through the city, but most of those revenues are, for example, like the hotel tax. So if you stay at a hotel, there could be a hotel tax. Some of that tourism, it flows through a tourism tax. Those tourism tax dollars, some of those dollars flow to us.
Are you regulated then by the city?
Regulated? How do you mean? I'm sorry.
Through maybe what you charge for your services or organizations that come and use the facilities?
No, we're not regulated in that way. We're not regulated per se. So we have to compete with other cities, right? So for example, if we wanted to have business come to Charlotte and we want to have a convention, some of our comp cities would include Nashville. One of my colleagues is probably cringing because he just doesn't want because Nashville is a competitor city. So what our sales team will do, for example, is try to go and find these large groups and associations and show them why Charlotte is the place that they should have their event. And so instead of going to Nashville, come to Charlotte. So we're not regulated in what we can charge those because we have to compete on our own merit. So if we have charges for our food and beverage, we have charges for the meals, we have charges for the facilities themselves, we have to compete with other cities. And so it's kind of like the market kind of regulates that. And so the city doesn't really say you can only charge this for groups.
okay, Carrie,
I guess that was a great segue. You spoke, going back to the procurement practices you spoke on. And I guess it kind of tails off to her question. Are your procurement practices more privatized, focused, or policy-based, or public governing function based in terms of how you have to
I see.
your businesses you have to do business with, or your women-owned and minority-owned businesses?
Okay, good. That's a good question. Thank you for that clarification. So we have our own procurement area. So we also have our own accounts payable, receivable. So we're not part of the city in that way. So we don't go under the city's procurement, and we don't go under the city as far as our financial stuff. We're separate and apart in that way. Yeah.
Do you have a focus or a program set up to focus on enhancing women or minority business utilization?
Well, that's what I'm here talking about. But since we're not, we have a program, this MWB program that I'm here discussing. We are not exactly, it's not the same as the cities. It's similar to the cities, but it's not the same as the cities and doesn't fall under the cities in that way.
okay, Rick,
Yeah.
when you had your chart up, I didn't see three organizations, the Charlotte Business Alliance, the Panthers, or the Hornets. So do you work with Mr. Temper, Mr. Jordan, and those other groups at all? If so, how quickly?
So we have a connection with all of these entities in the area because as part of the work that we do, as part of our mission, we have to work with the Panthers. I mean, we work with the Panthers because sometimes we're bringing people for some of the large games that take place there. But we don't have a business relationship in which there is any type of consideration between the two. But we do have a partnership with the Hornets Sports and Entertainment because our staff does back of house work at the Spectrum Center. So we have a relationship with them. Our employees work there, and then at the Spectrum Center, and we're reimbursed for the services that they provide during the course of the fiscal year. So some of that external support that I mentioned earlier, as far as our overall business model and the revenues that we have in, some of that, a small slice of that is from the Hornets and for the work done at Spectrum.
Thank you.
Chris. Good morning.
Morning.
Do you offer food and beverage contracts, specialty food and beverage contracts on a smaller scale? Like, is it room or space for smaller scale food or beverage businesses?
Can you help me answer that, Jim?
Yeah. So Anthony was talking a lot about our catering side, the big plates for the AKAs, but we also have concessions. So when there's events that are in the exhibit hall, we have third parties that sell, and they work with our concession team to work out the split before, but it's more of it's not a food truck, but it's a little setup in the exhibit halls, but through our team.
And sometimes those are provided by small vendors.
And then some of the other, I don't know the quantity you were talking about, but we have meetings for 200-300 people, 50, where our catering would need specialized food or desserts that they contract out. Yes.
Okay.
And we can talk more. We can talk to you more about that afterwards as well. Jeff, could you tell me one of those how to do business that can help me answer some of this?
I want to back it up in the question. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about it in terms of certification and the process. That would to go through Jeff, the procurement department. From the old school, the procurement department was the one that person of that department bought for the whole entity. And so as for certification, and right now we have a lot of small businesses that have to be certified by the state before they will be considered to get certification with the city. And are you all in that line as well?
No, ma'am. That's actually the advantage for us. And that's why when I talk about the relationship with the city and the state, we encourage people to get certified with the city and the MWSB program, but we don't require that. So we don't have that same certification process. So our process is that if the individual owns the business, if they own at least 51%, we ask them to self-certify, and they have to sign because we have to have that for our paperwork. And if they certify that they're a minority or women-owned business, then we can count them in our numbers as being, certified as a minority or women-owned business. And that's why I say that we are connected to the city, but we're not under the city's program because we're a little separate in that requirement. Now, our procurement is a little more decentralized. It's not quite as old school as you mentioned. And I'm old school too, Ms. McCletty. So I remember those days as well when we had one procurement officer and a full procurement shop. But we don't have a large procurement shop. So a lot of it's decentralized for our managers and some of the executives and directors. So what Jeff does is he does and coordinates a lot of the larger RFPs. So we may do 9 or 10 large RFPs during the course of a year, maybe 30 contracts or so. And we have, as I said earlier, 300 vendors in the database. So when someone's seeking in order to strengthen this program, people will contact Jeff and say, look, I have a need to do painting in this particular hallway and our staff can't handle it. So we may need to bring a specialized painting contractor in. Do you have minority owned business that can do that? If so, give me their name so that we can reach out to them. And we'll share the RFP, we'll share the statement of work with them, and then they can submit information to us. And that's kind of how we do it. It's not really a formalized process in which they have to be certified in advance.
Can you kind of state the parameters of RFPs and what would be considered large scale, medium size, or small, just to kind of, I know it's a broad question, but.
All right, so I'm going to read directly from this document, which is why I just asked Jeff to bring it up here to me. All right, so procurement has the following bidding levels. For us at the CRVA, goods costing less than $5,000 may be handled by a department manager or just by reasonable means. Goods with a total cost between $5,000 and $90,000 require written quotations from a minimum of 3 sources. Goods costing more than $90,000 require a formal sealed bid process. And capital projects equipment costing less than $500,000 require written quotations from a minimum of 3 sources. And we get those either fax, US mail, or email. And if the expense is $500,000 or greater, then we require a formal sealed bid process.
And what would you say to, again, the entire point of you being here is to kind of open up access to, I guess, more underserved areas of contractors or people in more vulnerable spaces?
Yes.
What can you tell us about that process that will help them better navigate it to be successful?
I would say reach out to us. We have information here. I can provide our email to you, Winston and Ms. McCletty. I would say that, we want to help businesses that are not only the ones that are ready to provide for, thousands of people, but also small businesses. Because as I described with the Turf Commander, with Willie's business, he had a small business and he was able to get a small contract and he was able to grow. One of the things that we're doing with Charlotte's Amp Up program is that we're trying to work with individuals who haven't really had a lot of revenue yet. They're really small. And I'm in discussions with Charlotte Amp Up program right now to be a corporate partner because I would like the CRVA. We were invited to be a corporate partner. We're not yet, but we were invited to be a corporate partner. We're going through that process and discussing it. I have to discuss it with my CEO and a couple of board members. But by doing that, we're trying to reach out to businesses, not only businesses that are getting started, but businesses that are ready to work. So if you go to our website, we will have information in which you can reach us to say, hey, this is what my business does, or I know somebody who does this. I mean, we can't help everyone because we have to have businesses that do the type of work and provide services that we need. So I may not be able to help a barber or hairstylist because we don't do work in that space. But there are many different types of services that we provide and many things that we do. So you just have to reach out to us on our website.
You mentioned the amounts for the goods.
Yes, ma'am.
About the services. We have a breakdown of the services that are worth through your procurement.
Well, for services, we follow the state's rules, and those levels are a little different, but they're similar. They're similar for services, and we just reach out to us, and we'll give you more details about how that process works.
Okay, Jackie.
Yes, you mentioned that you do marketing to about 10 million.
Our region, as far as the marketing, the ad spots, and our target markets is about 10.8 million.
What's that geography?
That can be from Washington, D.C. to Atlanta to, all along the Southeast region. So it's a lot of different cities and regions for that 10 million people. Because we reach up into Virginia and South Carolina, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, et cetera.
Tennessee, D.C.
So, well, it's not specifically just those states, but we have, I wish I had the graphic with me, but we have rings in which we concentrate based on the number of miles, that radius and distance from us. And if I can reach out to you and give you more information when I talk to our marketing and communications team, since that's obviously not my area of expertise, but we definitely reach out to a lot of states in the Southeastern region because right after the pandemic, one of the things that we concentrated on was regional travel because nobody could fly, right? So we decided to really emphasize travel for, for those who can drive to this region. So regional travel was very important to us, and that continues to be an emphasis for us now.
Okay, Natalie?
You mentioned that you wanted to, initially you tried to reach out to us so that we could help you get the information out there as to the types of things that you're looking for.
Sure.
And I think it would help kind of understand what it is that you're doing. Give us examples. If we did post on our website the information that you're looking for, what would the types of things be that you would post?
Well, we would want to post RFPs, for example. If we had a request for a proposal for services to do something, let's say we wanted to, paint a couple of rooms and we needed specialized services, or if we had, services related to construction or something that we do in one of the venues, we would want to share that and ask you to share that with other potential business owners. Or it could be something small, like when Jeff was talking about, in F&B, a person who has food and beverage experience, or they have a small company in which they, do and make and prepare certain types of food, then we would want to share that information to say, hey, contact the CRVA. Because we realize that not everybody is registered, not everybody's listed with the state. So this is one of our stops to say, can we reach out into the community in different ways? And I received a suggestion by a couple of different board members that this would be a good place to start in order to tell people about us, help them understand what we do, and find out how we can reach them. So the benefit is to try to help those businesses. I don't get anything personally from this, and neither does the CRVA. We simply want to try to be sure that the businesses we do business with, those we contract with for goods and services, that those are representative of the color and the race and ethnicity and gender of Charlotte across the spectrum. And if we have a very narrow focus in where we find those businesses, then some people are missing out. So that's what we're trying to do, is just trying to expand that reach. So if we share information,
monthly, would you be updating that list? How often?
Monthly. It would be a monthly update. And it doesn't have to be a permanent leak. It could just be, larger things that we know of. And if you have ideas about maybe this isn't, if you say, okay, this is maybe not the best place for you to have that announcement, Anthony, maybe you know of other places and other organizations, nonprofits, where we can talk about these things. Because when I spoke with the Small Business Consortium, we talked about the exact same thing, and there were more business owners in the room. And so it was a good audience for us and for this. So, let me know if this, if you think that this is something that can, maybe you can put me in touch with other organizations who can help.
Okay, Batista.
I'm trying to make sense of your revenue structure. I see that you touched up a little bit while responding to other people's questions. But what I wanted to know, as a CFO, maybe you can give it to me on percentage wise. I mean, do you receive direct governmental contribution?
No.
Or all your revenue is strictly operational based? Or are you a nonprofit that you can receive charitable and things like that?
Got it.
And my second one is in your advertising, because you say you pretty much go nationwide to go and advertise.
Not nationwide.
or regional.
Yes.
Southeast.
10.8 million is our target market.
Exactly. So do you use any cultural elements in your advertising to make sure special place where people will
go back to that slide, cultural marketing slide?
Okay, let me be clear. We only want you to ask one question.
Okay, sorry.
Then you can come back around. We're coming back around. So you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. McClady. One more. So when we do, I'll do the marketing part first. So when we do marketing, we do multicultural marketing, and we show all of the different faces of Charlotte. So perhaps you didn't hear me. I'll repeat this. Perhaps not everyone was in the room. So our 4 key branding themes includes arts and culture, diversity and inclusion, outdoor recreation, and culinary. And so not only is diversity and inclusion built into our 4 branding themes, it's also part of our values. So our values at the CRVA includes inclusion and diversity as those values. So that's one of the reasons that I'm here, is to try to reach out to others. To your earlier question about our funding model, we are not a nonprofit. So if you've ever heard of something like a water and sewer authority, where water and sewer is set up specifically to provide water and sewer services, and they charge a rate to people to receive those water and sewer services, and so you pay for your water, et cetera. They're connected to the city or the county, but they're not really, they don't receive direct appropriation for their work. So we're an authority in a similar way. So we receive external support, including city support, but most of that comes through tourism and hospitality tax related revenues, not personal, not property taxes, none of that. So on a percentage basis, about half of our support is external, including the support I mentioned from the Hornets for our work at the Spectrum Center. And about half of our revenue is what we generate for the work that we do by bringing in large business, large companies, large associations, large groups who come in and attend, like the Omegas when I mentioned them earlier at the Convention Center, and then the events at Bojangles Coliseum, Ovens Auditorium, et cetera. Does that help, sir?
Very clear.
Thank you.
Okay, Winston.
So besides overt conventions like the Omegas coming to Charlotte or other large scale conventions that utilize the convention center and have blocks of hotel rooms, how is success quantified with other things coming to Charlotte that might not be as overt? Or, for example, where is that data that suggests people spent the night in this hotel for this thing? How is success quantified?
So now you're getting into an area for me that's not my area of expertise, but I can tell you that we measure both the customer experience at the event, and then the hotel owners let us know, because if you're booking for a block, regardless of the size of the event, they know that you're there for that event because the hotel block is set up for that event. So if we have let's say we have something that's a huge show, like a citywide show, and they may need multiple hotels because the event is so large. So one of the events, can you go back to the gastro event? So the gastro event is, we'll show you in just a second. So there are 2 events that we had: the College of Gastroenterology and the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Those were 2 of our very large events. And I'll use those as an example, and then I'll talk about small ones to get to your specific question. They had hotel blocks in a lot of hotels, so we know that they were here for that event. So a small event is very similar. If you are having a wedding, I don't know if you're married, Winston, sorry, but if you were having a wedding and you had a small group and it's just family members from 2 or 3 cities, you would still contact that hotel and have a hotel block, and we would know that you're there for that reason. And so when we have, whether it's a small meeting room, because we did many different things that aren't just big events like this. So for example, during COVID, when we couldn't have large events, we had voting out at Bowplex. We affectionately call the Bojangles Entertainment Complex, which includes Ovens Auditorium and Bojangles Coliseum, the Bowplex. We had voting out there, early voting. So we did that for a while. We also had testing for the community. So we used the facilities in a lot of different ways. Once we were able to start having things when the schools couldn't have them, we had some of those, we had graduations, we had other events out there in some of our facilities. So we have small events. We have feedback from those individuals through our customer experience surveys. But the way we know how we're doing is through the results. And, Eric, as I mentioned, the data dependent effect, and what you asked related to being data dependent, we like to measure everything. And so we get outside data that Eric presents on a regular basis to executives and to directors And there's studies from outside entities, from like tourism economics, for example, to show the impact. So we can know from independent sources whether we're having a positive impact on the region. So the things I said earlier, we know that from studies that others did, and then we pull that information in, not because we're in-house doing it and creating the information.
Chris,
Oh, my question was already answered.
okay, here,
Yeah, and apologies if this is redundant, because I heard from this gentleman's question, you said something about a slide of new partners, but is there, from your strategy in utilizing diverse businesses, has there been or is there partnership or work with private entities, companies here, i.e. using the Business Alliance and their foundation, which is named for Black and brown businesses, or working with companies that are part of like the Mayor's Race and Equity Initiative, their supply diversity partners, or is there means with those companies to go about finding and identifying on the intuitive ways you alluded to find diverse businesses to bring onto your supply chain?
Can you go to the slide that has our partners? So we have partnerships. We don't have partnerships with all of the entities that you just named, but we're seeking to grow our outreach so that we can connect with some of these entities. Not that one, the one that has near the end. It has the different entities we've been working with. So over the past couple of years, we've been trying to establish relationships with other nonprofits and other entities. So I would love to get that list of the individuals that you mentioned and the organizations that you just mentioned. So we don't have partnerships with all of them, but we're always trying to reach out to see how we can get connected. We had I'll give you an example. We had a great conversation with Steve Coker at Charlotte Business Inclusion just within the past 2 weeks. He's relatively new. I'm relatively new, and we had never met personally. So we got on a Zoom call, and some of his staff members said, "Oh yeah, I know Jeff. I know the CRVA. They already have a good relationship, and they've already been doing well as far as getting our numbers for the cities, because we have, as part of our city contract, we have to have a certain amount of, relationship with minority and women-owned businesses." And then she says, "We're very familiar with the CRVA," and she talked a little bit about that with Steve. And so what we want to do, Charlotte Business Inclusion and the CRVA, is we want to partner and have some events similar to the the MWBE forum that I spoke of. And so we want to do a couple of those in 2023, in which we try to reach out to smaller companies and try to find some more and say, okay, these are the things that we do, so they can partner either with and get business with the city of Charlotte or with us.
okay, Jack.
I wanted to,
Now, Jackie, you're killing me. No, please. Thank you.
I wanted to ask about the CIAA.
That's what I was going to say.
That was my question. That was my question.
And what would you like to know, Jackie, about the CIAA?
Whatever you want to tell.
Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you that I was not here. So, no, seriously. So the CIAA is currently in Baltimore, as you know. And there is a team of us. I'm part of that team. There's a team of city officials and my CRVA colleagues. We're going to the CIAA next weekend, and we're going to meet with them, and we're going to talk to them, and we're going to attend the event, and we're going to let them know that Charlotte is still here. And we're going to say that, hey, whenever you're ready to come back to Charlotte, we'll welcome you. So I can't go into any specifics right now, but that's what I'll say about the CIAA right now.
I said that. Still are there any questions? Just to reiterate. He has. Okay, we have another question. One question.
Do you give any incentive to, let's take the example of the CIAA. Do you offer anything to a tax?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I won't get into specific numbers here in this forum because this really isn't the place or my place to say. But yes, we offer incentives for really large groups and the CIAA. Yes, we offer incentives for them to be here in Charlotte. We did then, and we always do. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mayor.
What did Baltimore do or offer to get the CIAA as opposed to it staying in Charlotte? Because I understand that Charlotte did have a proposal and Baltimore won. So what did they do to get it? Because there are a lot of rumors going around that Charlotte didn't want the CIAA, certain segment of Charlotte didn't want the CIAA and stuff like that.
Miss Mary, I really wish I could answer that question, but I really can't answer that question. Not because I don't want to tell you, but because I was not part of all of the details related to those negotiations.
Okay.
I started in May of 2020,
Okay.
and yes, so thank you very much for asking. Do we have any other questions?
Okay, if we don't have any other questions, we would like to thank you and your staff for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Business owners, and I recognize this lady, so she's part of the business. Those that are business owners, just stand up and introduce yourselves to the chair, if nobody else. But I just want you all the business owners that are here, small business that are here to.
Oh, great, great.
First of all, heard this, and we need to just share the information with other businesses that you work with, the CRA and what they're doing. So, to assist us. As I said, and we welcome you all and we ask you to come back now. If you are not a part of our list of people that we send emails out to, please reach out through our website, Sarah Stevens Student Support, and Steve will put you on the list so they can send invitations out to you as your staff too as well. And you all can get information about who will be our speakers at Tuesday morning. Thank you all.
They didn't introduce themselves.
Oh,
You said they're going to introduce.
yeah, you all, please introduce yourselves as we have some time.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dax McCletty. I'm Laura's son, and I am the proud owner of a State Farm Agency. So I'm sure some of the folks that you all work with probably need to have insurance to work with you guys. So if they're scrambling for it, please have them give us a call. Hopefully we can help them out.
You got some calendars over here too. Information.
Did you reintroduce yourself?
You want me to use it?
Yeah.
It's Randy Salvatore. I am 100% women owned. I'm a one woman show, so it's One Love Staffing is the name of the company, and I kind of do a broad management staffing. Not people think staffing not like I find you a job. It's my own staffing provided. So I do like events, event planning, management, whether it's project or property management, bartending.
Oh, wow.
Have a lot of hats, so I definitely have a card here to give to you. I want to
Great.
give that information. I don't do big scale like you're talking about, serve thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, but still.
I like more intimate.
We have small events as well. Yeah.
And when I grow, I can then have more staff. I kind of just have some part-time people that if I need them, I call them in to help me on a certain event. But most of my stuff, I'm very particular, and it's me. You hire me, you get me. I'm 100% woman. So woman,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Robinson, and I have a catering company, personal shelf service, all global flavors. And I specialize in fresh juices and lemonades, drinks, and foods from all over the globe.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you.
I'm Kenyon Harris, and this is Daniel Moon. We're Max Group, a real estate team here in Charlotte. And while we don't do many of the specific things you had up there on your list, we are connected with a lot of contractors. So, we love to connect and try to be a conduit.
Great. Thank you very much. We love that.
My name is Angela McClady. I'm Laura McClady's daughter-in-law, and I am a salon owner.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, we thank you. Do we have any announcement? your announcements, if you want to, just send them to our website and send them to Steve, and he will put them on our website for the announcements, any announcements that you have. So thank you everybody for coming this morning, and let's once again give them. Mike Evans used to attend the Tucson Forum a lot, and I think he was one of the board members that suggested that Anthony come to Tucson. We appreciate that.